Revelation 2093. From the 2nd of October 1941. Knowledge of Christ's teaching obliges acceptance. Grace. This is the adversary's activity, that he awakens or strengthens people's will to reject all teachings concerning Jesus Christ and the act of salvation. And once he has achieved this, it is easy for him to completely destroy faith in God as Creator and Sustainer of all things. For those who reject Jesus Christ as Redeemer willingly give themselves into his control and are therefore likewise opponents of God, since the adversary can transfer his will to people without finding resistance. Once faith in Jesus Christ has been taught, once people have been informed of him and his act of salvation, the human being can no longer detach himself from him without putting his soul in extreme danger. Lack of knowledge relieves him of responsibility, yet being in knowledge also obliges him to accept faith in Jesus Christ, for the transmission of Christ's teaching is a grace of God which was offered to him, justified by a certain state of maturity of the soul during its embodiment as a human being. Countless people lack the knowledge of this because their souls are not yet receptive for this greatest of all graces. Not all souls are shaped in the same way, because the course of higher development in the bound will is not the same for all beings. And therefore the being in the stage as a human being must first have reached a certain maturity of soul before the knowledge about Jesus Christ and his act of salvation can be made accessible to it. Although it should be offered to all people as long as they live on earth, people who are still behind in their spiritual development are often still too burdened by lower instincts to be receptive to a teaching which is intended to develop divine instincts in the human being. The instincts of such people must sometimes still be called animalistic, and in such a low spiritual state a teaching which only demands love is incomprehensible and therefore unacceptable to them. Their course of development is not yet complete with earthly life because they have still taken too strong instincts from the preliminary stages into earthly life and need a considerably longer time to overcome them. The concept of unselfish neighborly love cannot be made comprehensible to them in this life, which, however, does not exclude that they can also only be redeemed through love and that the work of redemption will only begin in the beyond. But Jesus Christ died for those people too, and the knowledge of the act of salvation will also be imparted to them in the beyond if it could not be brought to them on earth. The spiritual state of maturity before the embodiment as a human being determines where and under which living conditions the human being may take up residence on earth. God knows about the former resistance and will of every individual being and accordingly places it where it has the most opportunities to mature its soul. Understandably, where the teaching of Christ is offered to people, the path to ascent is significantly easier to cover, but on the other hand this grace also obliges. If God dignifies the human being to be able to avail himself of the grace of the act of salvation, he will also be held responsible if he disregards this grace. If he is informed of Jesus Christ's act of love, he will not acknowledge it and deny himself, that is, he will deny his divinity. Then he is visibly under the influence of the adversary whose endeavor it is to get the beingness under his spell again. And he also succeeds, if the human being is willing to reject Christ as the Son of God and Redeemer of the world. He thereby loses eternal beatitude. Because without Jesus Christ the soul can never be redeemed. Amen.